How I make 30% returns without. That was a terrible hook. How I make 30% returns without swinging a hammer. These are the 7 rules that I live by. Good morning. My name is Rich Lennon. We talk every morning about growing the money. And you are in the right place. If you are trying to figure out how to grow your money, if you don't think that classical education platforms are working for you, and you are trying to figure out how to do it smarter and better and easier, you've come to the right place. And I'm just going to dive right into it. I have got 7 basic rules, and I'll probably throw an eighth in there just because that's the way I roll. But I've got 7 basic rules that I live by when I'm lending my money. I've probably talked about these in the past, but just bearing the number of phone calls I get from real estate lenders, private money lenders in the real estate business, I felt like it was appropriate that I handle it this morning. And I've already lost my voice. Okay, number one. And I would say, out of all the issues that we come across, this one is the one that people call me up that have, when they call me up and they have a problem, this is the number one reason that they have a problem. And of course, number one is you can only lend in first position. And I'm sure that you have heard that in the past. But what I have found is that a lot of new lenders are desperate to are desperate to find. I got a frog in my throat. Are are desperate to find a loan and to deploy their money, and they do things like they get into either a joint venture or they get into a spot where they end up being in second position. Second position sometimes to get their construction loan, sometimes it's second position because the first position or the borrower doesn't have enough money to put a down payment for that first position lender. And so they use the bridge of second position. If you have not done at least 50 loans, you have no business in being in anything other than first position. Out of all the problems that I see on this sheet, this is the number one that when people schedule an appointment with me on a growth call and they want to talk about their problems, this is the number one that goes out. No lending if it's not in first position ever. Number two, paperwork. You would be stunned at the paperwork that sometimes I review, where I feel like it's literally just scratched out on a piece of paper, or it's just made up by a chat GPT, which I love AI, don't get me wrong, but you need to make sure that you have state specific notes, deeds of trust or mortgages, and that you make sure that you are compliant with all the SEC rules in your state so that you are doing your documentation correctly. This is a huge detractor for many new lenders. They don't want to spend the money to go to a local attorney to get this paperwork done correctly, and as a result, they get themselves in trouble. Number three, I don't see this happening very often anymore, but ARV underwriting. When you are the lender, you have to make sure that the ARV is correct. The place that you'll probably get the original how much can you sell the property for question answered is from your borrower. Your borrower is not a good person to trust on whether how much you can sell the property for once it's done. And they're using maybe their real estate agent or they have a pie in the sky number, but generally you can find this information out online in a fairly easy manner nowadays. There's lots of apps. It doesn't just have to be the MLS. The MLS is still the best. It you can find this information out. There aren't as many mistakes in this one particular that I see, but ARV underwriting, make sure that you know how much you can sell the property for. That is not a pie in the sky number. Number four, construction underwriting. I don't like to swing hammers, and I'm not great on the construction side. And so I do see new lenders who are into this same boat. I think a great solution to this is find somebody in your area that will go do inspections on a house for you. You don't need an official write-up. It doesn't have to be an expensive thing. I think you pay around $150 to have someone in your community that is not going to do the work, so they're not biased towards giving you a fake number, but hire and have somebody on your Rolodex that you can call to go out and inspect the property and make sure that when they tell you it's a $40,000 renovation, that it's not an $80,000 renovation, because that can get you in a lot of trouble. All right. The next one is the construction draw. Number 5, the construction draw itself. I have seen lenders recently, in an attempt to gain market share, release the construction draws at the closing. While this will certainly allow the lender to deploy more money, I highly suspect that in the coming years, this will turn out to be a poor decision. You need to make sure that when you're doing your construction draws, that they do the work and then you give them the draw. If you give them the construction money up front, there is a reasonable chance that they will use that money to work on another house. Because a lot of these borrowers, they're doing multiple projects. And the reason that they need the money up front, because they don't have the money. And so if you are giving them the money, you are enabling them a little bit. And this is a very poor practice. It will allow you to deploy your money faster, but you have to make sure that you don't fall for that. And you need to make sure they do the work and then they get the money. No exceptions. All right. The number 6 on here, I have on here, is go local. I if you are not new to lending, or you're new to real estate in general, on the one hand, it's a fairly easy, straightforward business. If you follow some basic business practices, and particularly like rules like this, you'll find yourself in a pretty good spot. But you want to be in a position where if something goes wrong, especially in the stages for which you are inexperienced, that you can physically go and touch the house. That this is not something where I live in Virginia and I'm lending in Wyoming, and then there's a problem and I don't even know what to do. I don't care what circles you're in. I don't care the friends that you have. I don't care the trust that you might feel in an individual. I will highly encourage you to make sure that you become a professional lender in your local market, in a market that you can feel it, you can touch it, you can smell it, you can find out the information on a fairly easy basis. And don't do it. Please, please don't. You don't understand the rules and the laws of other states. Don't do it. I don't know if I beat that one over the head enough. My last one is the most important one, and that is skin in the game. I don't check to make sure people have money in their bank account. I don't do like, hey, give me a proof of funds on your bank account. First of all, that stuff can be forged. That doesn't really mean a whole lot. And the way you find out if someone has money or not is you require them to bring it to closing. And they cannot take a subsequent position, like no second position notes, so that they get the money, so that they have the skin in the game. That is not acceptable. So they have to bring at a minimum of 10% down for that purchase of that property. And they have to be very clear on the construction draw that they do the work first and then they get the draw. And so if they're making a $150,000 purchase and they have to bring $15,000 down because it's 10%, and they have to go do the original construction before they do a construction draw, without asking them to look into their bank account, that they have at least $30,000. And this is someone who is a good client. They are well funded and they can get through the hiccups that might come along with doing renovations and doing flipping. All right, my name is Rich Lennon. We talk about growing the money every morning from like 9 to 9:10. If you're interested in finding out how I lend my money at 30 to 50%, just go to richlennon.com, download the Smarter Wealth Blueprint. And if you like what you see and you think it's something you're interested, hit the button, schedule a growth call, and I'm happy to talk to you about it. All right, everybody have a great day, and I will see you soon.